At my ex's wedding, his bride mocked me, and then a waitress revealed a truth that silenced everyone. My name is Megan. I'm 28. I live in a small apartment in Marigold Crest, a quiet estate with cracked sidewalks and too many barking dogs. I work as a receptionist at a dental clinic downtown. Life hasn't been perfect, but I've learned how to smile through anything. 2 years ago, I thought I had it all. I was in love with a man named Brian. He was tall, charming, and had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. We dated for almost 3 years. I really thought he was the one. We planned to move in together, had talks about babies, even picked out names once for fun. He liked Mason, I liked Ava. But life has a cruel way of flipping things when you least expect it. It started one rainy Tuesday. Brian told me he needed some time to figure things out. At first, I thought it was just stress. His job at the finance firm had been wearing him down. But 2 weeks later, I saw a photo on Facebook. He was holding hands with a woman in a red dress. Her name was Tiffany. The caption read, "My forever starts now." My heart sank. That break was never real. He had already moved on. I didn't cry. Not right away. I just stared at the screen, reading and rereading that post like it would change if I blinked hard enough. But the truth didn't budge. He dumped me and got with her. I didn't even get a goodbye. Months passed. I buried myself in work, took extra shifts, joined a gym I didn't even like. Anything to keep my mind busy. I still had to see pictures of them all over social media though. They seemed perfect. Always laughing, always hugging. It made me feel like I never existed. Then, one morning, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was an invitation. "You're invited to the wedding of Brian Mitchell and Tiffany Dawson." I stared at it for a long time. Was it a joke? Did they accidentally send it to me? Or worse, was this on purpose? I was about to tear it up when I saw a little note scribbled on the back. "Hope you've moved on too. Would love to see you there." My hands shook. It was her handwriting. Tiffany's. I recognized it from when she signed that post once. It wasn't just a wedding invite. It was a slap in the face. I almost threw it out. Almost. But something inside me stopped. It was like a tiny whisper in my ear saying, "Go." So I bought a dress. It wasn't fancy, just a soft green dress I found on clearance. I got my hair done, booked a ride. I walked into that hall with my chin up high, not because I wanted to see Brian, but because I wanted them to see me. The wedding was held in a fancy place called the Fernwood Room. Big white chandeliers, flower walls, and champagne fountains. Everyone looked perfect. I stood quietly in the back, trying not to draw attention. I just wanted to be a ghost passing through, letting them know I was strong enough to show up. But of course, Tiffany spotted me. She walked straight over, holding her bouquet like a weapon. "Oh my God, Megan?" Her voice was loud. "Fake? The kind people use when they're putting on a show. I didn't think you'd come," she added, blinking those long lashes of hers. "I mean, I guess I would want closure too if I were in your shoes." Guests nearby turned to listen. I stayed calm. "Thanks for the invite," I said simply. Tiffany laughed. This high-pitched, sharp sound that cut right through the music. "Is that the dress you wore to that dental office Christmas party? Cute?" Then she added in a whisper, loud enough for people to hear, still clinging to memories. "Huh?" People started whispering. My chest tightened, but I didn't flinch. I just smiled. "Don't worry, I'm not here for him." Her brows rose. "Oh, you're not?" she asked, tilting her head. "No," I said. "I'm here for the cake." She stared at me like I had just grown 2 heads. But before she could respond, a waitress walked by with a tray of drinks. She paused, looked right at me, and said, "Miss Megan, right?" I blinked. "Yes." The waitress smiled, then leaned in and whispered, "I remember you. You were with him." Before she started coming in, Tiffany's face twisted. "Excuse me?" she asked sharply. The waitress looked at her calmly. "I used to work at Fairpoint Bistro. Brian used to bring Megan there every Saturday, until one night, he came in with someone else." She glanced at Tiffany. "You?" The air in the room changed, like someone sucked all the sound out. "What are you talking about?" Tiffany asked, her voice rising. The waitress didn't even blink. "He cheated. With you." I saw it happen. Silence. Every single head turned toward us. I could feel the heat rising in Tiffany's face. Her hands clenched her bouquet so tightly the petals started falling off. Brian was still across the room, laughing with his groomsmen. He hadn't noticed the storm building on this side of the hall. Tiffany opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. I just stood there, calm, steady, silent. But inside me, something shifted. Something cold and sharp had been carved away, and in its place, there was only fire. I looked at the waitress. She gave me a small nod and walked off like nothing had happened. Tiffany finally found her voice. You planned this, didn't you? I smiled at her, then leaned in close, so only she could hear. No, but that was just the beginning. And then I walked away. What she didn't know was that my revenge wasn't finished yet. It had barely started. I walked out of the main hall and into the garden area behind the Fernwood room. The sky was beginning to turn orange from the setting sun. My heart was pounding, but I kept my steps slow and calm. I could still hear the buzz of whispers inside the venue. People asking questions. People staring at Tiffany. Some were probably already recording. I found a quiet bench near the water fountain and sat down. My hands were trembling now. Not from fear, from release, from holding it all in for so long. That waitress, her name tag had said Jenna. I hadn't seen her before in my life, but she had remembered me. She had remembered Brian, and her truth had pierced through Tiffany's perfect wedding, like a knife through silk. Still, this wasn't about causing drama at their wedding. It was about something deeper, something personal. I didn't want to scream or throw a drink in anyone's face. I wanted them to learn the same lesson I did. That love, when abused, becomes poison. And if you treat people like trash, it always finds a way back. After a few minutes of silence, I got up and made my way back inside. People turned as I entered. Some smiled politely, others just looked curious. The DJ had started playing again, trying to bring back the cheer, but the air wasn't the same. I passed by a table of older women whispering. One of them leaned closer to her friend and said, "Is that her, the ex?" Her friend nodded. I didn't care. I walked straight to the dessert table and picked up a small plate of cake, chocolate with raspberry layers, the kind Brian always said he hated. But here it was, probably Tiffany's choice. I took a bite and let it melt in my mouth. Suddenly a voice came from behind me, still hungry after serving drama like that. It was Jenna, the waitress. I turned and smiled. You really dropped a bomb in there. She shrugged. Someone had to. I've seen too many women walk away in silence. You didn't deserve what they did to you. Thank you, I said quietly. She looked around. You sure you're done? 'Cause Tiffany looks like she's about to throw hands. I followed her gaze. Tiffany was standing near the bar, her bridesmaids around her like guards. Her makeup was perfect, but her eyes were wild. She looked like someone whose crown had just cracked in half. Done? I said softly. No, not yet. Jenna smirked. Good. I didn't want to cause a scene, not the kind that got people kicked out. But I had one last move planned, and it wasn't loud. It was quiet, sharp, and unforgettable. Earlier that day, before I came to the wedding, I sent an email. It was to Claire Dawson, Tiffany's mother. We had only met once, during a charity gala. Brian dragged me to years ago, but I remembered her face, sweet but strong. She was proud of her daughter, always posting about her good heart and respect for other women. In the email, I simply wrote, "Hi Claire. I know today is a special day, and I don't want to ruin it, but I believe in truth. Your daughter's marriage started by destroying someone else's. You deserve to know that." I attached 2 photos Brian had sent me by mistake last year. One of him and Tiffany, kissing, dated 2 weeks before our breakup. No screaming, no threats, just facts. I didn't know if she'd read it before the wedding, but if she did, I knew it would sit in her chest like a rock. As I walked toward the restrooms to freshen up, I passed Claire. She was standing by the entrance, arms crossed, phone in hand. Her eyes followed me. Then she looked across the room to her daughter. She said nothing, but her face told me enough. She knew. Inside the restroom, I took a deep breath. The walls were covered in roses and gold-framed mirrors. I leaned against the counter and looked at myself. I wasn't shaking anymore. I wasn't angry. I was light. I stepped back out, and that's when it happened. The doors to the banquet room flew open. A woman came running in, her heels clicking hard against the tile floor. People turned and gasped. She was holding a tiny boy by the hand. The boy looked about 5, with big brown eyes and curly hair. The woman pointed straight at Brian and shouted, "You said you'd never let him find out. How could you stand up here like you're clean?" Everyone froze. Brian dropped his champagne glass. Tiffany stepped back, like someone had slapped her. The woman stormed forward, dragging the boy with her. "Tell her, Brian. Tell your precious bride who he is." The boy looked confused. Brian looked pale. My heart skipped a beat. I stepped aside, closer to the wall, watching the pieces of this new disaster unfold. Tiffany's voice cracked. Who is she, Brian? He stammered. I can explain. No, the woman snapped. I gave you 5 years. 5 years of hiding and silence. And you couldn't even invite your son to your wedding. Gasps echoed through the room. Son? I felt the air get sucked out again. Only this time. It wasn't me. It was them. My plan hadn't included this. I didn't know about this woman or this child. But somehow fate had added a whole new layer to my revenge. And it wasn't mine anymore. It was his. Brian's secrets were breaking open like floodgates. And this was only the beginning. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just watched Tiffany's hands fall to her sides, her mouth still open. The bouquet she was holding hit the floor. The boy looked up at Brian and whispered something only he could hear. Brian fell to his knees, and I smiled. Not because I hurt them, but because they did it to themselves. I turned slowly and walked away from the crowd, Jenna falling in step beside me. You planned that too? She whispered. No, I said softly. But it's funny how truth doesn't need an invite. It always finds a way in. Jenna laughed quietly. Behind me the shouting started, and I didn't look back. Chapter 3. The yelling behind me grew louder, voices crashing like waves against the marble walls of the Fernwood room. But I didn't turn around. I walked steadily, past the photo booth, past the table, with the guest book where someone had written "True Love Forever" in big loopy letters. I stepped outside into the cooling night air. The lights strung across the trees twinkled, casting soft shadows on the lawn. Somewhere nearby, crickets chirped, completely unbothered by the storm inside. Jenna followed me, a bit breathless. You're just gonna walk out like that? I smiled, not stopping. I already said what I came to say. The rest, that's between them and the truth. She whistled. You're cold. No, I said gently. I'm free. We reached the far end of the parking lot, where a white car was parked under a dim streetlight. Jenna leaned against the hood and pulled out her phone. You think she'll still marry him after this? I shrugged. Does it matter? It didn't. Tiffany had made her choice long ago, the same way Brian did. I was just the broken piece they stepped over to get to their perfect little stage. But tonight the stage had collapsed, and I wasn't the one buried under it. I opened the car door, ready to leave, but just as I sat down, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won, but this isn't over. I stared at the screen. Tiffany. Of course it was. I almost laughed. The woman had just found out her husband had a secret child, and might have lied to her for years. And still I was her target. She hadn't learned a thing. I typed back slowly. It was never about winning. But thanks for showing the world who you really are. I hit send and turned off my phone. I wasn't going to spend another second dancing to their chaos. Jenna looked over. Everything okay? I nodded. Just someone who doesn't know when to quit. She grinned. Well, I get off in 30 minutes. Wanna grab some fries? I blinked, surprised. Are you asking me out? She winked. Girls gotta eat. I laughed. A real laugh. The first in a long time. Sure. Fries sound good. We sat on the hood of her car, under the pale light, just two women sharing silence and secrets. For once I wasn't replaying the past in my head like an old movie. But inside the wedding, the movie was still playing. And the main characters, they were crashing fast. Back in the hall, Tiffany stood frozen. The little boy, Brian's son, was now sitting on a chair, swinging his legs while sipping from a juice box someone had handed him. Guests whispered around him, like he was made of glass. Brian was pacing, running his hands through his hair, muttering to himself. I didn't want to ruin today. I didn't want her to know like this. Tiffany's mom, Claire, stepped forward. You told me she was just a rumor. You looked me in the eye and said she was lying. I thought it was over. Brian said. You thought. Claire's voice cracked. You thought you could lie your way through your own wedding? That this wouldn't come out? Brian looked to Tiffany, reaching for her hand. Please, please don't let this ruin us. I love you. Tiffany yanked her hand away like it was fire. Her eyes were glassy, her face pale. You told me you'd only been with her once, she whispered. One time. And it didn't mean anything. Brian blinked, lost. It was complicated. No, she snapped. It was simple. You cheated. You lied. And now there's a kid in the middle of this. Her voice was rising, sharp and raw. The DJ had stopped the music. The caterers stood frozen near the cake table. Guests were slowly backing away, pretending not to stare while still recording with their phones. The woman, the mother of Brian's son, stepped forward. He hasn't seen his child in over a year, not even a birthday card. I begged him to tell the truth before this farce of a wedding. Brian stared at her, eyes full of panic. You said you'd never come. I didn't come for you, she snapped. I came so he'd know his father is a liar. The boy looked up, confused. Mom, are we going home? She nodded. Soon, baby. And then she turned, lifting her chin toward Tiffany. You can keep him. Just know what you're keeping. Then she walked out. With their child. With the truth. Tiffany's legs wobbled. One of her bridesmaids caught her before she fell. I need air, she muttered. She rushed toward the side door, and out into the night, heels clicking like thunder on the marble floor. Out in the parking lot, Jenna and I sat in silence, dipping fries into ketchup. The door behind us slammed open. Tiffany, she stormed toward my car like a tornado in silk. I stood up slowly, setting the fries on the roof. She stopped inches from me, trembling, mascara smudged, her bouquet long gone. You think you've ruined me? She hissed. No, I said calmly. You did that all on your own. You're bitter. You're petty. That's why he left you. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. You stole him while he was still mine. Lied to everyone. Mocked me in front of 100 people. And you think I'm the petty one? Tiffany's face twisted. He was never happy with you. I stepped closer. Then why did he keep coming back? She flinched. Just a flicker. I saw it. Jenna stood beside me now, arms crossed. You might want to get some water or something. You look like you're about to pop a vein. Tiffany pointed a shaking finger at me. This isn't over. I tilted my head. Oh, I know, because I hadn't told her the final part yet. The part I'd been saving. The part that would not only break the stage, but burn it down completely. And it was almost time. She stared at me, teeth clenched, eyes red. Then she turned sharply and stormed off into the night again. I watched her go, silent, because the best revenge, it's not loud. It's when they destroy themselves trying to hurt you, and don't even realize it. I picked up the fries again, took a bite, and said to Jenna, you know what comes next? She grinned. Chapter 4, and I nodded slowly. Yep, the part where she finds out what else he was hiding. The night sky over Ashmore Heights was heavy, like it knew secrets too. Tiffany didn't return to the wedding hall. Not right away. She was too shaken, too humiliated, and too furious to face the music, or what was left of it. Instead, she sat in her mother's car, staring at herself in the mirror with smudged mascara and a trembling hand. Her perfect wedding day was now the most talked about disaster in town. Inside the venue, guests were starting to leave. The band packed their instruments in silence. The cake had barely been touched, still sitting like a forgotten monument to a love that never really existed. Brian stood alone at the head table, still in his tux, looking like a man who had been hit by a train. He had spent the last 10 minutes trying to call Tiffany. No answer. He had no idea where she went, or if she was even coming back. All he knew was that everything had slipped through his fingers. The whispers kept circling the room like vultures. He has a kid? Did you hear how she found out? She threw a drink at his ex. Or was it at the Waitress? Back in the parking lot, I wasn't thinking about Brian or Tiffany. Not anymore. I was focused on something else. Something that took time, patience, and a little help from someone inside. Jenna pulled out her phone again, scrolling until she found what I needed. You sure you want to do this? She asked. I nodded. She played with fire. I'm just turning up the heat. She handed me the phone. It was a video. A private one I never wanted to see again. But now it had a purpose. Months ago, back when Brian was working late, almost every night, I had followed my gut and checked his tablet. What I found was a video of him and Tiffany, together, dated 2 months before we broke up. 2 months before he swore he wasn't seeing anyone else. I didn't delete it. I saved it. Not because I wanted revenge back then, but because some truths need proof. And now? Now was the time. Are you gonna post it? Jenna asked. No, I said. That's not my style. I opened the messaging app and selected a contact, Claire, Tiffany's mother. I typed a single sentence. You should know what your daughter helped destroy. Then I attached the video and hit send. Jenna let out a slow breath. You're savage. She mocked me at her wedding, I said quietly. She laughed in my face like she won something. But all she got was a liar, a cheat, and now, a mother who sees her for who she really is. A few seconds later, I saw the message change from delivered to read. Good. Now let the cracks widen. Meanwhile, inside the venue, Claire sat stiffly at one of the front tables, clutching a napkin, like it was holding her together. Her phone buzzed in her purse. She pulled it out, expecting maybe a message from Tiffany. Instead, she saw my name, and then the video. At first she froze, then her eyes widened, and her mouth slowly dropped open. She pressed play. Her lips trembled as she watched her daughter and Brian, long before Tiffany ever claimed he was hers. The date in the corner was clear enough to show that Tiffany hadn't just won Brian. She had stolen him. Claire stood slowly, phone still in hand. Her face was pale and tight. Brian noticed her approaching. "Mrs. Allen, I know this looks bad," but she held up the phone. He went dead silent. "You used my daughter," she said, "and she used you. The both of you deserve each other." Then she turned around and walked away, out the doors, past the guests, past the flowers and glitter. Outside, Tiffany's phone buzzed. "Claire." Tiffany picked up. "Mom?" But her mother's voice was cold. "I just watched the video." Tiffany sat upright. What video? "You lied to me. You lied to everyone. You let that girl be humiliated in front of a room full of people. And for what? A man who didn't even love you enough to tell the truth." Tiffany's mouth went dry. "It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that." There was silence on the line for a moment. Then Claire added, "You think this is your rock bottom? It's not. But it's coming. And when it does, I won't be there to catch you." The call ended. Tiffany stared at the screen. She couldn't breathe. The tears came fast, but there was no one to catch them now. No bridesmaids, no makeup artist, no mother to hold her hand. Only silence. And the cold truth that everyone knew now. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to ruin her wedding with drama. I let her world unravel all on its own. And it was just getting started. That night, a post went viral in our town's community Facebook group. Someone had anonymously uploaded a photo of Brian and Tiffany at the altar, frozen in a moment right before everything fell apart. The caption read, "When the bride mocks her groom's ex, but the waitress reveals a secret that silences the room." People flooded the comments. Nobody knew who posted it, but the story had legs. Everyone was sharing it. Everyone wanted to know what really happened at that wedding. And they would. The morning after the wedding was colder than usual for spring. The sun came up quietly over Ashmore Heights, but the silence didn't last long. Phones buzzed, screens lit up, and gossip spread like wildfire. The Facebook photo of Tiffany and Brian at the altar had now made it onto TikTok, Twitter, and even the local news blog, Midtown Whispers. People were guessing what happened, piecing together stories from guests, staff, and a few very bold anonymous sources, but none of them knew the full truth yet. That was the part I was saving. I sat on my couch, wrapped in my robe, sipping lukewarm coffee, while Jenna scrolled through the chaos. Her phone was blowing up with texts from coworkers, classmates, even people we barely spoke to in high school. "You're famous," Jenna said, smirking as she showed me her screen. "Check this out. Someone said the waitress was planted by the ex just to expose the groom." I laughed softly. Let them guess. The truth was even better. I hadn't planted Emma, the waitress who'd told the room about Brian's son. I hadn't bribed her. I hadn't even expected her to say anything. She did it because she had nothing left to lose. Emma was Brian's ex from college, and the mother of his child. She'd been quiet for years, paid off, hidden, until Brian stopped sending her support, thinking Tiffany's money could make her problems disappear. But Emma, she wasn't the type to disappear. She'd taken a job at the wedding venue just to pay the bills, never knowing Brian would be the groom, until she saw the invitation on the manager's desk 3 days before. Then she planned her move. I hadn't asked her to say anything. I didn't even know she'd be there until the moment she opened her mouth. And when she did, everything changed. Now the world was watching, and Tiffany was unraveling. Brian, on the other hand, tried to do damage control. He posted a long emotional Facebook message that read like a badly written apology letter. "I'm not perfect, but I never meant to hurt anyone. I'm trying to be the best man I can be, for my wife, my family, and my past mistakes." I didn't even finish reading it. Instead, I posted one photo. It was a simple screenshot of a date-stamped text message from Brian, sent to me 3 days before his wedding. Sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice. I didn't add a caption. I didn't need to. Within minutes, his post was flooded with comments. "Didn't you just get married? Are you still in love with your ex? Wow, your poor wife." Tiffany saw the post within the hour, and she lost it. Her Instagram went dark. She unfollowed Brian. She unfollowed her mom. She deleted all wedding photos except one. and even that one was cropped, so Brian wasn't in it. Then she posted a story. Don't believe everything you see. Some people are just jealous. I'm still Mrs. Chapman, but the cracks were there, and I was ready to finish what I started. The real revenge hadn't even landed yet. That afternoon, I met with someone from the Ashmore Gazette. Her name was Marla, late 30s, smart eyes, quick hands with a pen. She'd been messaging me for a few days asking for my side of the story. And now I was ready to give it to her. We met at a small diner on the edge of town. The kind of place with sticky menus and dusty blinds. Perfect for spilling tea. I slid a flash drive across the table. Everything's on there, I said. She looked surprised. You sure? I nodded. I don't need to lie. Just tell the truth. Start with how they got together. How he cheated. How she knew. How she laughed at me at her wedding. Marla opened her laptop. You got it. This'll be out in the weekend edition. And one more thing, I said, standing up. Don't make me the victim. Marla blinked. What do you want to be? I smiled. The lesson. That night, Tiffany's house lit up like a Christmas tree, headlights flashing, voices yelling, and the sharp sound of a door slamming hard enough to echo down the street. She was arguing with Brian, loudly. Neighbors peeked through their curtains. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Tiffany's voice rang out. You embarrassed yourself. Brian shouted back. You threw a drink at a woman who hadn't even said a word to you. You were texting her before our wedding. Because you never made me forget her. That silence afterward. That was heavier than the shouting. And I didn't even have to lift a finger. Jenna and I watched the scene from my car, parked a few blocks away. We weren't stalking. Not really. Just enjoying the show. You think they'll break up? She asked. Eventually, I said. But not yet. She needs him to clean up the mess. He needs her to look like he's still a decent guy. So what next? I pulled out a second flash drive. This one's for her job. You're kidding. Nope. The private school she works for. They don't exactly like employees involved in scandal. Jenna grinned. You're terrifying. I'm patient. The next morning, I mailed the drive with no return address, and waited. The real storm. It hadn't even hit yet. 3 days after I mailed that flash drive, the headmistress of Westcliff Academy made a quiet phone call to a board member, then to another, then to human resources. Tiffany had no idea what was coming. She'd just finished posting a bright, cheerful selfie captioned "Choosing happiness every day" when she got the email. You are requested to attend a mandatory disciplinary hearing regarding a matter brought to our attention. Please come prepared. It was signed by the head of conduct. No emojis, no smiley faces, just plain doom. That evening, Brian was nowhere to be found. Tiffany drove herself to a nearby salon, hair wrapped in foil and lips trembling as she tried to maintain her composure in front of strangers. She didn't know that I was already 2 steps ahead, and watching. Across town, I was sitting at a cafe with my old college roommate, Danielle, who just so happened to be a substitute teacher at Westcliff. She'd seen the school's email thread. They're not going to fire her. Not right away, she said, sipping her iced tea. But they're looking, and they're not happy. I leaned back. She represents the school. Their whole brand is based on morality and family values. Danielle smirked. She shouldn't have thrown a drink on someone at a public wedding, or mocked a woman with a mic'd-up waitress standing 10 feet away. Nope, I agreed. But that wasn't the peak. That night, Tiffany held an emergency girls-only gathering at her house. The same house Brian had bought with his ex's savings. Tiffany poured wine into stemless glasses and tried to act like she was fine. Like none of this was getting to her. But one of the girls, Amber, was live streaming the whole thing, not on her main account, on a fake one. The one she used to spill secrets and laugh at other people's drama. And I was watching from my couch. Tiffany ranted. She sobbed. She swore Brian still loved her, and that I was obsessed with ruining her life. She said the wedding disaster wasn't her fault, that the waitress was some gold-digging ex trying to stay relevant, that Brian's kid wasn't even real. That last line, that's the one that sealed her fate. Emma, yes, the same waitress, saw the clip on Twitter, and she didn't stay quiet this time. She uploaded a photo, a birth certificate, and a family court letter dated 2 years ago with Brian's name and a court-ordered child support amount of $650 a month. No lies, no hiding. Now everyone knew the truth. Tiffany's social media exploded. People dragged her for being cruel, for lying, for pretending to be someone she wasn't. Some even called the school, demanding they fire her. And just when I thought it couldn't get better, Brian's ex-fiancée, the one before me, messaged me. Her name was Kayla. She'd moved away to New Jersey years ago and completely cut ties with him. But she'd been watching the wedding drama online, and she had stories. "I know what he did to you," she wrote. "He did worse to me. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." We met at a coffee shop the next day. Kayla had receipts, emails, photos, screenshots, even old audio clips. Brian had a pattern. He'd cheat, lie, use their money, gaslight them, then run when things got real. He did it to her, then to me, then to Emma. "And now, Tiffany, do you want to use this?" Kayla asked. I smiled. "Oh yes." I handed the new folder to Marla, the reporter from Ashmore Gazette. She was already prepping the weekend piece. Now it would be a full series. Not just about Tiffany, but about him. Brian Chapman, the golden boy of Midtown, now caught in a web of his own lies. The first story dropped Saturday morning. Headline: wedding shocker. Local groom's secret child. Former lovers and a trail of lies. It blew up. Within hours, Brian's law firm suspended him, pending internal review. They couldn't afford to have a scandal tied to their name, especially one that involved lies, secret children, and financial manipulation. And Tiffany, she wasn't handling it well. She stormed into the law office, demanding they defend him. They refused. She screamed at the receptionist, threatened to sue, then got escorted out. That afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. I stared at it for a while before opening. It was Tiffany. "Why are you doing this? I didn't deserve this." Neither did Brian. I took a deep breath, then typed back. "You laughed at me, at my pain. On your wedding day, you humiliated me for fun. And Brian? He left behind a woman and a child. Now the truth is simply catching up." She didn't reply, but I wasn't done. That night, I posted one final thing on my page. Just a simple video of me walking down a street, calm, confident, and smiling. The caption: "Healing looks good on me." People cheered. They clapped back at Tiffany. Others sent me messages of support. But there was one message that stood out. From Emma. "I never got to thank you. For being brave. For standing your ground. Because of you, my son doesn't have to grow up wondering if his father cared. Now the world knows. And that's enough for me." I stared at it for a long time. And just as I was about to put my phone down, a knock came at my door. Slow. Deliberate. I opened it. And froze. Standing there with eyes full of regret and hands shaking, was Brian. He looked nothing like the man I remembered. More like a shadow of himself. He opened his mouth to speak. He looked awful. Brian's once pristine hair was unkempt. His eyes, always so confident, were now bloodshot and hollow. The tailored suit he used to wear like armor. Gone. Just jeans and a wrinkled shirt. His jaw trembled as he tried to speak. I didn't say a word. I just stared at him, arms folded across my chest, waiting. He shifted on his feet. "Can I come in?" "No," I said quietly. His face fell. "Please," he whispered. "I just need a minute. I didn't come to fight. I swear." I stepped outside, gently closing the door behind me so he wouldn't see how calm my apartment looked, how peaceful my life had become without him. He looked at the ground. You destroyed everything." I blinked slowly. "Did I?" He looked up, and something flickered in his eyes. "Shame. Maybe, but not enough. You set the whole town on fire," he said. "I lost my job. Tiffany got suspended. My family won't even return my calls." I leaned against the railing. "Sounds like karma finally answered your texts." He winced. "I know I messed up," he said. "But you went too far." I tilted my head. "You mean the part where I mailed in the flash drive? Or the part where I exposed you lying to your own child's mother? Or is it the article where your first fiancé came forward?" Brian looked like he might cry. "You didn't have to ruin me," he whispered. I stared at him hard. "You ruined yourself." We stood in silence for a moment. The wind brushed between us, cold and light, like the ghost of the life we almost had. He took a shaky breath. "I don't love Tiffany." My heart didn't jump. "Not anymore." "Okay," I said simply. "I don't even know why I married her." He went on, eyes desperate. "She just kept pushing it. I was scared to be alone, scared to look bad. She made me feel important again when I'd already lost you." I crossed my arms tighter. You didn't lose me, Brian. You threw me away. He looked like he'd just been slapped. And then he reached into his pocket. I stiffened, but it wasn't a weapon. Just an envelope. I signed over the apartment, he said. The one you paid the deposit on. It's yours now. I'm moving back with my parents. I don't want to keep anything that was built on lies. I took the envelope and looked at it. I didn't say thank you. I didn't cry. He took a step closer. Can we talk sometime? Maybe fix things? Not to go back, but just, I cut him off. You had years to talk. You chose silence. You chose mockery. You let her humiliate me. He swallowed. I forgive you, I said softly. But I'm not going back. Brian nodded slowly. He looked like a boy who'd just been told the monster under his bed was real. He turned and walked away without another word. And as I stood there, watching him disappear into the night, I felt something lift. It was over. The pain, the shame, the silence, it didn't live in me anymore. 3 weeks later, Tiffany resigned from Westcliff Academy. The board never made the details public, but word traveled fast. Parents didn't want her near their kids. The PTA had meetings about her behavior. She disappeared from social media. Some said she moved to another state. Others said she stayed in town, hiding out at her sister's place. I didn't care. I wasn't watching anymore. I was too busy living. Emma started a blog about single motherhood and healing. Her first post, to the girl they tried to break, you were never the weak one. Kayla started dating again. She even laughed about the old days. We survived him. She joked over brunch one Sunday. That should come with a trophy. As for me, I bought a new car, took a weekend trip to the coast with Danielle, woke up without checking my phone for drama. And one morning, I opened my inbox to find a letter from Westcliff Academy. Not about Tiffany. About me. They'd read the story in Ashmore Gazette. They wanted to talk, not just about the past, but about speaking to their senior girls about resilience, emotional health, and spotting manipulation early. They were offering a paid speaking gig. I smiled, then typed back, I'd be honored. So if you're listening to this and someone made you feel small, like your voice didn't matter, like your truth wasn't real, remember this. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting someone. It's about letting them fall on the sword they built for you. And standing tall when they realize you never needed them to rise again. I didn't get even. I got better. And I hope you do too.